In this video, we're going to be focusing on how to find the price in equilibrium, the quantity in equilibrium, consumer surplus, and producer surplus. So let's get started. Consumer surplus, essentially what this means is the difference between the highest price you would be willing to buy something and the price you actually paid. And from the producer surplus, essentially, it's the same thing in reverse. It's the difference between the price the sellers would be willing to accept for the products or services and the price they sell it for. And the equilibrium price, or the quantity demanded in equilibrium, essentially is the middle point in between these. Let me show you how this works. In economics, we use several models in order to essentially make sense of the world. And obviously reality is much more complex than we model it, but we need to have a starting point. Essentially what economists do is find a middle point between the consumer surplus and the producer surplus, and this is what's the equilibrium price and the quantity demanded in equilibrium. So what we have here, essentially, the consumer surplus keeps going down as the price goes up. So we have the price here, we have the quantity here. So essentially the quantity demanded will keep going down as the price keeps going up. And obviously on the other way around, producers would be willing to sell more at a higher price. So essentially what we find here, like this middle point, is the quantity demanded at this given point, quantity demanded in equilibrium, and the same thing here, like the price in equilibrium. So essentially what this means here, this point is essentially saying that all the output, all the quantity demanded is sold at this price, and the consumer surplus is this region here. So this is the consumer surplus, this triangle that you see here, and the producer surplus is the one on the bottom. So what we do to find these, we usually have an expression that is given to you in an exam. So let's start with a simple example. So let's say they tell you that the quantity demanded is 120 minus 5/3 of P. And the quantity supplied is equal to 1/3 of P. And you are asked to find the equilibrium price and the quantity demanded in equilibrium. So how do we go about and do this? The way for us to solve this problem is essentially equaling these guys out, because when you look at this expression, essentially you have this expression and you have this expression. So by equaling these two, you'll find the middle point, which is this one. So let's do that. So on one hand, we have 120 minus 5/3 P equals to 1/3 P. So you get this guy here. Let me rearrange the expression. So you have P 1/3 plus 5/3. And the other one stays the same. Remember, all I did was move this guy here, and then you have the expression and then the number. You might find sometimes that you can change these. So I know what you think is like this term is here, but you have this here. But notice that I haven't changed anything. If I have 1/3 plus 5/3 here equals to 120, it's the same thing. So you can have it either on the left side or the right side, it's the same thing. So you have P, and this is what? 1 plus 5 is 6/3. 6/3 is 2. 2 equals to 120. You get this guy here, this guy here. So this equals to 60. So now we found the price in equilibrium, which is equal to 60. And now we need to find this one. And this is the easiest part, because you can use either this one or this expression, because we already found this one. So it really doesn't matter which one you use, you'll get the same result. So let's do that then. So let's use the bottom one, which is much simpler. So the quantity in equilibrium is equal to 1/3, and then we just use the other guy that we have just found. So times 60, and this equals to, let me change colors here. So 60 divided by 3 is equal to 20. So this guy is equal to 20. So now we have the price in equilibrium and we have the quantity in equilibrium. Sometimes you'll find that they ask you to calculate the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. So let's start with the first one. So for the consumer surplus, we have a price here and we have a price here. To find this guy, what we do here is essentially you look at the graph and say, okay, so this is a price where the quantity is equal to 0. So we use the previous expressions that we had and we find a value where price is equal to 0 in order to get this guy here. So let's do that. So from the expression, we had that the quantity demanded is equal to 120 minus 5/3 P. So all we are doing here essentially is saying that this guy is 0. This is the case. What we do here, we change this guy here to that side. So you get 5/3 of P equals to 120. You have this guy here. So it's P 120 plus 3, and then you have the 1 on the bottom to divide. So it's 360 divided by 5, which is equal to 72. So now we know this value, which is 72. And now we have everything we need in order to calculate the area of the consumer surplus triangle, because we have 0 here, we have 20, so we have the base, and we have the height. It really doesn't matter how you look at it. You could look at this one height and this one is the base. It's the same thing. And this one is the difference between this one and this one. So in order to calculate this, so let's do this then. Let me just delete this here for you real quick. So what do we have? So the consumer surplus is equal to the base times the height divided by 2, which we know that is equal to 72 minus 60 times 20 divided by 2. So 72 minus 60 is 12 times 20 divided by 2. This is 240 divided by 2, which is 120. So the consumer surplus, this area is equal to 120. In order to find the other one, we do exactly the same thing. So let's do that then. So all you gotta do here is look at the area. So you have 60 here and we have 0 here. So this one is 60. And from this side to this one, we have calculated it and we know that it is equal to 20. And we know that this is 60 times 20 divided by 2. So this is 1200 divided by 2, which is 600. So this area here is equal to 600. This is how you calculate the price in equilibrium, the quantity in equilibrium, the consumer surplus area, and the producer surplus area.